Hey
Okay.
guys, welcome to another vlog and podcast on building a private practice, real life stories. And today we are joined with Laura Keurig. She's a licensed marriage family therapist in Northern California. Thank you for doing this with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So why don't you share a little bit about your practice currently, like where you're at, who you like to see, what's going on with you right now?
Okay, well, I'm in Aptos, California. It's right near Santa Cruz, and I started my practice about a year ago in September. And when I started, I was half-time private practice and half-time at an agency position.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of January of this year, I was able to leave the agency position and do the practice full-time. And right now I'm full. So it's been an awesome journey. And when I started, most of my experience had been in agencies
Mm-hmm.
working with kids and families like Medi-Cal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that was my main experience. And so I was thinking, well, maybe I should just work with that population.
Mm-hmm.
But the cool thing about private practice over the past year is it's allowed me to work with adults, which I've never really gotten to do, and I really like it. So I'm still figuring out what my focus is, but it's become more and more clear over the past year. And I think I'm tending toward working with traumatized women.
Wow.
Um, that's
What,
that's the one thing that's really clear.
tell me a little bit about that process in terms of, I know we're going to cover a lot today about your journey, but what has that been like to sort through who you want to see? How have you done that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's been mostly just seeing, like, when you start your practice, at least for me, I was pretty much like, I just want clients. I don't care who they are. I'm just going to try everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've gotten to try working with couples, which you never get to do in agencies.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with kids, which I'm used to, and then yeah, working with individual adults. And so I think getting exposed to all of that, I've just been able to actually step back and see who I'm looking forward to seeing when I have a day full of clients. And
Mm-hmm.
that's made it more clear. Like, for me, I noticed that I'm not at all looking forward to the kids as much as I am to um, the individual adults,
Mm-hmm.
and especially the traumatized women. I just feel a special compassion for them.
Mm-hmm.
I notice that I seem to relate well to them, and I
Mm-hmm.
also, as I've started to have more of a focus, I've started to educate myself more on different approaches to working with them, and I get really excited about it. So
Nice.
I think just my excitement level has been the main thing.
Yeah, so it sounds like that pitter patter of the heart, that's a very soulful thing. And I think that it takes intention to be aware of that you've got to make space to sit back and evaluate,
Mhm.
to just go and plow through. So you've got to really kind of be in tune with yourself. And
Yeah.
also, I love your approach of look at your diverse experience, like just seeing diversity, and from that, something emerges. Some
Hmm.
people, when they're starting out, they don't have, they're kind of like you. Like, I've only worked in agency, I've only seen, maybe kids in the agency. So they need to kind of experience some other things for them to kind of sort it out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I mean, it's not that I dislike working with kids either. I do like it, and I
Yeah.
was okay doing it. But then seeing the difference in my excitement level and working with adults
Yeah.
made it way more clear to me.
So tell me about your working in agency and then why private practice. Like, how
Yeah,
did you
so
know that was for you?
I let's see, I did a bulk of my internship working part time at a school based counseling center in Sacramento, and then I moved to Santa Cruz and got a full time job at an agency where I was doing uh, like half Medi-Cal outpatient families
Mm-hmm.
and half um, we had a contract with CPS, so we were doing reunification visits,
Mm-hmm.
family counseling in those. And so after doing that for like 2.5 years, I was so burned out, and I didn't even really realize what burnout looked like, but I was just super stressed all the time. It's like I just, that job didn't allow me time to really recover and process through the trauma that I was being exposed to
Mm.
with the population I was working with. And I think it just caught up to me. Like, it just became more and more clear. I started talking to more people about it and just having a harder and harder time. And it was really unusual for me to be struggling the way I was.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of out of necessity that I started looking into private practice, because I couldn't really see any other options. I knew I didn't want to do any more agency work based on how I was feeling. And there'd been a group of therapists in my community who I'd had my eye on for a while,
Mm-hmm.
the Christian counseling group. And I do Christian counseling. And so I'd had my eye on them. And so I talked to them, and they had an office opening. And so I decided to try just renting one day a week. And it just kind of flowed from there. I was able to reduce my hours at my agency job to part-time.
Mm-hmm. So are you still in that
And
group, or?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm still in that group. So I started, it just sort of, I knew I needed to do something. Like, it just got to the point where I was like, I cannot continue in this way, or I'm literally going to lose my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the thing about private practice is you have somewhat more control, right? Versus when you're in an agency, you take what you're given projects, whatever, the clients you get. And in private practice, that kind of autonomy, that it's empowering, to say like, well, if I'm stressed, I have to look at the boss, and I'm the boss. So
Mhm.
what can but you can make some changes. And can you talk a little bit about the signs of burnout beyond, like, you felt stressed? Because I think a lot of people are burnt out and they don't know it. So,
Yeah, I know it's kind of an insidious thing that you're like,
mm-hmm.
you're in it for a long time before you start to realize it. That's what I learned anyway. So I don't know. I mean, I'm a normally anxious person, and
Mm-hmm.
I get stressed about things, so that's not that unusual. But
Mm-hmm.
it was like a cumulative stress for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't ever decompress from it and like recover. Um, and I was just crying a lot, which is really unusual, and just like feeling completely overwhelmed all the time. Um, Feeling just like constantly pressured, like I couldn't get perspective. I just lost my ability to have perspective on anything. And it was like, I couldn't even take steps to change it because I was so in it.
Mm-hmm.
I had lost perspective to such a degree. And thankfully, I had one or two people in my life who had gone through a similar thing earlier than I had. That was invaluable to me to talk to them, especially one of my close friends. She had been through the same thing like 6 months earlier. So she was a little bit ahead of me. And it was mainly talking to her that I really started to come to terms with like what I was experiencing.
Mm-hmm. Did
Uh,
you did you think that private practice was going to be a solution to that? I mean,
well, I didn't
originally, like,
know.
when you went into this work, was it like, I'm going to be in private practice, or was it
No,
no?
I never like aspired to do private practice. I wasn't necessarily opposed to
Right.
it, but it wasn't really my goal to get to do private practice. I didn't really know I didn't really have an ultimate goal. I just wanted to be working with a population that I enjoyed and able
Mm-hmm.
to make a livable wage.
Yeah.
Um, so, so yeah, I think I didn't know if private practice would be any better, but I figured it would at least be something different. And I just knew I couldn't go on. Like, it got to the
Mm-hmm.
point, even in my marriage, where like I just noticed that my constant stress, and it was almost like depression, and it
Mm-hmm.
was really taking a toll on all areas of my life. So it just got to the point, even just talking to my husband where it was like, this absolutely has to change. Like now you have to take steps to do something now. And private practice was kind of the only other option. And I
Uh-huh.
just happened to have this opening with this group, which just sort of unfolded and allowed me to take a step into it without having to completely just jump in with both feet and take a huge risk.
Yeah. So tell me about, by the way, I have to say I've had a conversation like that with my husband. Yeah, I
Mhm.
was like, I'd come home and cry and
Yeah, that's exactly. It was like crying almost every day.
yeah, he's like this, yeah. And I think I remember one time he said, "You're so much happier now." I was like, "I wasn't happy before." He's like, "Yeah, no."
Yeah, that's the weird thing about it is you can't really see clearly.
No, you can't. So it's nice that we have other people that can reflect that back in a
Mhm.
loving way that really care about us. Tell me about group practice because this is different, than some people that have done these kind of interviews with me that are, solely, solo in their office. So tell me about what how the group practice is set up and how it works, like with your marketing and all that. I'm sure people want to know.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I don't know if group practice is really the right word because it's basically just a group of therapists. We're all under the same name,
Uh huh.
but we each have our own practice within that.
Nice.
So we share office space, we
Mhm.
share a voicemail system, and
Mhm.
we share a website
Mhm.
for the group.
Mhm.
So I think it's mostly the most benefit I've gotten from that is just with marketing. Um, I think that's one of the main reasons I've been able to be full by this point is because the group has been in this area for like 30 years.
Mhm.
We have a very well established name. And so just knowing some of the other therapists in there who are full, they refer to me. And
Yeah.
then, I get probably more referrals just from people who know of the group who get passed along to the group.
Mhm.
So that's, I think, been the main difference for me between, being totally on my own and then being affiliated with this
Yeah.
group.
And so you have your own business under
Yeah.
this name, right? You have your own business license and, you know,
Yeah.
corporate structure or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that that is important because some people are probably thinking, oh, I can't find a group like that. But I think that you
Mhm.
can create that kind of community in terms of finding other therapists that have abundance in their
Mhm.
practice, that don't like shy away from referring out, that they want to know the people that they're referring to. So there is building relationships with the right kind of therapist, I think is.
Exactly. Yeah, because I think, our group has a main like phone number where
Yeah.
people can call and leave a general message. And then sometimes those messages get funneled out to all of us. But honestly, I've hardly gotten any referrals from that. It's been just from like one or two therapists in the group who are full who know me.
Yeah.
So, you could have that anyway. You don't have to be a part of a group to have that.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
you do
there's,
your own marketing as well.
yes, I do. I mean, honestly, because I have been fairly full for a while. I mean, it's just establishing the business and then the client work and all of that has slowed down my own efforts to market. So,
That's always the case when we're busy. We don't market. When it's slow is when we
yeah,
market. Yeah.
I know. And I'm like, oh gosh, I need to get it set up because I know slow periods. I mean, I've already had slow periods. Summer was slow. So I did get to work on some of it then, but it was also kind of nice to take a rest.
Yeah. Yeah.
But my online marketing is really what I want to be focusing on. I know that I feel like pretty clear on that. It's just a matter of making the time to really hone in on that.
Right. Why is that clear for you that that's the way you want to go?
Well, I think because creating my website has been something I really enjoyed doing. It was one of those tasks that I looked forward to, and I like, it took a long time for me I went through a lot of different versions of it and designs of it before I settled on one that I've kept for a while, but I feel like even now I'll revisit it every so often and completely kind of redesign the content I have on there. And I like doing that. So, and I like writing. So blogging is definitely something I want to get into. I've I've just barely started to scratch the surface of that.
Uh-huh.
I just like figuring things out online on the computer using technology. I like it. And
Mm-hmm.
plus I'm a more introverted person. And so I think that, that way of marketing suits my personality better, but I also think that it's, it's a great way. If you can develop your online presence, it can be super powerful. And if you enjoy doing it enough to learn how to do it, I think that, to me, it seems like that's probably the best place I could be investing my time rather than in-person networking.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I think, and for other people, it could be in-person networking.
Yeah.
I
I
love that
think,
you're like, I'm an introvert. I know what works for me, and this is what's helpful, and
mhm.
a way to represent myself and get my message out to the world. It's
And
powerful.
I think I just enjoy doing that. I
Good.
enjoy figuring things out and troubleshooting things.
It's
So
important to
I
like
think
what
that's a
you're
big
doing.
part of why I think that about online marketing.
Yeah, you gotta like it to some degree. Yes, there will
Mhm.
always be things you don't like to do, but I mean, if you're gonna pick a marketing style, it should fit with you, you know?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So, what has been hard for you in private practice? What has been some of the struggles in getting it started and continuing it?
I think having to do everything myself, I have outsourced certain things. Like I use an electronic healthcare record. I use Simple Practice, so
Yeah.
that I outsource using an accounting program.
Uh-huh.
But honestly, like I haven't really involved any other people in the work that I'm doing.
Mm.
So being the main person to do everything has been a little bit of a challenge sometimes when I get busy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think sometimes the isolation of it, even
Mm-hmm.
though I'm with a group of therapists, I hardly see any of them ever.
Uh-huh.
So that's been something I've tried to intentionally,
Mm-hmm.
counteract
How do
through.
you do that?
Um, I try to get together with friends who are therapists regularly and talk with them. It's especially great to have a couple people who are doing private practice too, or who are just starting. It's fun to talk with them because they can understand it
Yeah.
at all levels.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I think it's definitely, I notice a big difference now versus looking back a year ago. But a year ago, um, it was such a big adjustment to set my fees and um, be getting paid what seemed like a lot to me for what I wasn't even sure was worth that much money. Um, so I think just having the confidence at the beginning was a struggle for me.
Right. How do you feel now about what you charge?
Well, I feel like I could probably charge more. That's mostly based on the Zinni materials that I've gone through, but um, I feel very comfortable with what I charge
Do you
now.
feel like you're offering value for what you charge now?
Yeah, like I feel, and honestly, the bit going through business school boot camp that's been a huge part of that shift for me. I feel very passionate about my value now, not just my value, but the value of therapy.
Oh yeah.
And why I just feel like that's been invaluable to me
Mhm.
and it's something that I talk with other therapists about, because the people who haven't gone through this program that I talk to are kind of, they're where I used to be with it, and they're questioning it or
Right.
assuming certain things about needing to have a sliding scale, or I don't needing to be on a bunch of insurance panels.
Yeah.
Just I feel like my experience so far has shown me that, there are people out there who do value it, and it is a very valuable service. And even thinking about things like, you know, paying for a facial or a haircut is not
Mm-hmm.
that much less. And,
Mm-hmm.
when you think about what you're really doing in therapy, it's
Mm-hmm.
really valuable.
Yeah.
And also just seeing the value of taking care of myself and making a living from what I'm doing so that I can be in a good place to really be present with people
Yeah.
and support them. I've just seen over the past year how important that is, like just really experiencing that.
Totally. I mean, if you think about our work in terms of like Maslow's hierarchy, we're a little above food and shelter, we're moving up. And if you yourself as a therapist you're so stressed on your basic needs, it does make the work challenging, So taking care of you is part of the work. And that's cool that you've learned that so early on, and not like 10 years down the road when you're crying again.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, it was, like I said, I had Zinni Me. Like I said, private practice was in the corner of my mind as a possibility. So I had Zinni Me like bookmarked for when I started to get into it. So when I started to get into it, I started watching some of the webinars. And, my thought was, I'm not going to do business school boot camp right now. I'm going to wait till I start making a little bit of money and then do it. And I'll just use the free resources till then. But there was one webinar that made me change my mind. And it was something about setting fees. And we interviewed, I think, Joe Muirhead, and she was just so passionate about I don't know, it was just so empowering that I thought, gosh, I need this. I need this as I'm starting. And so I decided to do business school boot camp last fall, which was like right when I was starting. So in a way it was like drinking from a fire hose, because like I had no idea of most of anything of my practice. So there was a lot that I felt like I couldn't really fully do because I was still just totally figuring it out. But it was such a blessing to start my practice from that vantage point. And it's made a huge difference, I think, in the way that it's gone and the way that I've set it up. I mean, not that I set it up perfectly by any means, but
well, let me just tell you, no one is perfect. Even my stuff is not perfect, but
but I think it just made such a difference because I don't think any therapist based on our training, especially if we do agency work, we're not naturally coming into owning a private practice from this standpoint.
Yeah. I'm pleased to hear that. I mean, thank you for sharing that with people. I mean, I'm glad that that's been a tool that's been helpful for you.
It really, really has.
What other tools have you used? What other, like you said, Simple Practice is one. What other things have you used? What accounting software?
I use Wave.
Okay, yeah.
Free program. It's okay. I mean, it has its issues, but it's worked for me.
Good.
And then I use a tax person. So I just keep track of all my accounting in Wave, and then I have a tax person that I give all that to. Let's see, what other tools? Well, Squarespace for my website. I love that. I designed a website on WordPress it was just, I don't know how to code or anything. So I was just sort of trying to figure it out. And then when I found Squarespace, it was so much better. Simple Practice has been so helpful. I'm so glad that I do that. I just love having a paperless office.
Talk about that a little bit. Like, why do you like it so much? I mean, I like
Simple Practice?
Yeah.
Okay. I just like being able to do my notes from wherever, and I like how it enables you to keep track of who's paid you and how. It enables you to keep track of insurance payments. It sends reminders to clients. I love having one place to keep everything having to do with my clients, and it's totally secure. And I love being able to send my clients all the intake paperwork before we even meet.
Nice.
Just having all of that done. The first session is so nice. I love that. So those are some of the things that I've really liked about it.
Cool. Any other kind of tools or things that you think any therapist in private practice, you need to know about this?
Well, honestly, I mean, if I'm talking with somebody about starting my practice, I can't not talk about business school boot camp. But I don't know. And I haven't even, I mean, there's still so much more work that I have to do in that program, because each time I it's hard for me to really, really go through it all in depth each time.
Well,
So
yeah, no, it's
yeah, so I haven't even like done the full program yet, but I've done most of parts of it.
Mhm.
Um, and I think just the setting up, how that's helped me to set up the structure of my business and just avoid certain pitfalls, or just being part of the Facebook group has introduced me to so many different things that I never would have been aware of otherwise. Um, I think that that's been so helpful, because just being on your own in private practice, you're it, and you're responsible for a lot of legal type of things. And so
Yeah,
just becoming more aware of those things and being introduced to those has been super helpful. And I wouldn't have ever known about them had it not been for the Facebook group and issues coming up there.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then just having that support too, and recognizing my value, and um, yeah, setting things up and being encouraged to really consider how to set up a business that really works for me and how I am and how I'm
Mhm.
wired.
Yeah. Okay, I have a fun question. If you were to talk to yourself back when you were starting, what would you have said to her?
Um, I would, I don't know. That's a good question. I think I would say, I would just encourage her. You're taking a big step, and this is the right step to be taking. And I know it feels scary, but, um, you're doing the right thing, and it's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just, there's going to be scary times, but yeah, just keep in mind that there's just normal ebbs and flows of owning a business, and just work hard at it, and and it's going to be a great opportunity for you to grow in your confidence and learn different things that you never would have expected to learn.
It's beautiful. And I think for anyone listening, it's a perfect message for them as well. You know? Um,
Yeah, it's like, don't like I'm really glad I took that risk. I mean, like I said, it was kind of out of necessity. So I think that really drove me to, like, it's like when the pain of your current situation becomes
yeah.
bigger than the pain of taking the risk.
Yeah.
So I think that made it less scary because I like had to,
Yeah.
but but it's still scary. I mean, I was scared. I had no idea what to expect. And it was less scary because I thankfully had my part-time job.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's like, it definitely, and it's still something I'm getting used to. I mean, you can still have a week where you're feeling great and getting a lot of referrals, and then like the next week, like 3 or 4 people could just decide to stop, and then you're in a completely opposite place. And I think I remember seeing somebody in the Facebook group post about just the roller coaster of being in private practice. And I think that, the ups and downs are getting less now because I've ridden enough of them to be a
Yeah.
little more at ease.
Yeah. No, they still occur. No,
They still
let me
occur.
just tell
Yeah.
you, years down the road, I mean, every time things, change and expand, then there's just like, okay, here we go. There is a bit of faith and trusting that you're an intelligent person. Like, and um, if things were to completely fall apart, you would be able to figure it out. And sometimes you just got to talk yourself like, okay, it's just new. Like if you were to add a clinician or add something and grow your practice in another way, anytime something new happens,
Totally.
you're learning the ebb and flow of that new thing too. So it's forever.
Yeah.
It hasn't stopped for me yet. So,
Yeah, that's true. And I think for me, being a person of faith, I think my faith in God's really helped me because I trust him, and I
mhm.
trust that he led me into this, and that he has really blessed the risk that I've taken.
Mm,
So that's really been a foundation for me, is just trusting, because I've had my fair share of freakouts. the past year and just feeling like, oh my gosh, I really, really need some calls and I don't know when they're going to come or if they're going to come. I think,
Mhm.
that's one of the scarier things is not knowing if they're going to.
Mhm. And
Um,
that's why, you have all the tools though. That's the
yeah, exactly. And that's one thing Business School Bootcamp was great for is it gave me concrete things to do in the meantime.
yeah.
So that was really nice, not just like freaking out and being clueless of what to do, but it gave me, tangible things to work on.
Mhm. Awesome.
So,
If people, I mean, if people are thinking about, you know, doing private practice, what do you want to say to them?
I would say that I think for some people it's a really great thing. I think I could see how it's not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really helped me to be somebody who I like to figure things out and I like to try to get to the bottom of things and learn new things. So I think that's been a helpful thing just because you do have to figure a lot of things out and you have to wear a lot of different hats.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one aspect of it that I think, there's always the ability to outsource things, of course. So it's not like if you don't like certain aspects of it, you can always bring in somebody else to help you with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think for me, I've really enjoyed the variety. I mean, not only do you get to do therapy, but you get to be kind of like a business person. You get to run different aspects of your business. And I don't know, I like that. I like being independent. I like not having a boss.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten used to that now. At first it seemed so weird. And then when you take a week off, you come back and like no one's missed you. Like no one's like, oh, you're back. That's so weird. But so yeah, I think it's a really great option for therapists to really exercise what they're gifted in and pursue what they're gifted in. And there's so many different specialties that you could build a practice off of that could really help people. And
Mm-hmm.
not only that, but you have the flexibility to see clients, but also to create other things that are helpful to people that so that you're not just having to rely on client income.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't explored that at all yet, but I just like how many different directions you could go with it.
Yep.
So I really think it's possible to do it. It's just, I think it's really important to have support, which
Mm-hmm.
is why the Business School Bootcamp community has been super helpful for me. But, I think having the support is essential.
Yeah. Clinical consultation, lunches with friends in private practice, you know.
Yeah, talking to people who have been doing it and who have the experience so that they can point you in the right direction on things.
Yeah.
It's just been super helpful for me.
So if people want to learn more about you or get in touch with you or refer traumatized women to you, how do they find you?
Probably the best way would be my website. It's laurakurekmft.com.
I'll put that in the notes.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can email me or call me off of my website
Mm-hmm.
or
Perfect.
send me a message.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and being
Yeah.
with
Thanks
us.
for having me. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, and I hope anyone that is listening, what I love about you, Laura, is like you found a way of practicing that fits your personality, and you got the support you needed, and we all have our different paths. So I just love hearing like the introverted path, and kind of coming from that agency work where you felt limited in who you saw, and to opening up a diverse practice, and then going back to okay, now I'm seeing where my passion is. And so thank you for sharing that. I think it's helpful for anyone that's listening.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
if you're
And
listening, go ahead.
I would just I'm happy to talk to anybody who has questions or who just wants to hear more or talk more about what it's like to start a practice, because I feel like I'm still at the beginning of it, but after going through the first year, I've just learned so much, and I love talking to people who are thinking of starting or who are just getting started. So yeah, definitely don't hesitate to contact me. I'd be happy to talk further about it.
That's very kind of you. But not everyone all at once.
Yeah, maybe not not all at once.
All right, guys, take some action on today's podcast and this vlog, and really start to think about where you're getting your support. And if you need more support, evaluate if you're burnt out. We don't need more burnt out people. We need people that are refreshed and have ease in their life. And it's okay if you're there. There's a lot of resources out there for you. So let's start connecting with each other and making private practice a wonderful way to help the world. All right. Bye, guys.